For 12 years I stood by Leo Vance's side. I waited patiently through his lingering affections for another, his ambitions and his moods. Finally he proposed. But at our engagement party, in a room full of our friends and family, his phone rang. One call was all it took for him to leave, abandoning me under the chandeliers to become the centerpiece of pity and gossip. That night I saw a post from our high school's golden girl Tessa Reed. It read, "Round and round we go. And I always end up realizing you're the one who treats me best in this whole world." The photo was of a man's back as he walked away from the camera. The custom-tailored white suit was identical to the one Leo had worn when he walked out on me. The choice he had made was finally irrevocably clear. I replied to her post with a single simple sentence. "Then I wish you both happiness." Leo's call came 30 minutes later. His voice was its usual melody of cool indifference, now laced with a thread of weariness. "Autumn, I know it was wrong of me to leave tonight. But Tessa called and said she wasn't feeling well enough to come to the party. I was worried. Your comment is damaging her reputation. Post another one, apologize to her." I was leaning against the railing of the master balcony in what was supposed to be our new home, a cigarette smoldering between my fingers. The bleak night wind swirled around me, carrying the wisp of smoke away until it dissipated into nothingness. "So you're calling me," I murmured, my voice barely a whisper, "just to tell me to apologize to her?" Perhaps he had expected tears or screams. My quietness seemed to throw him off. He paused, then sighed, his tone shifting into the placating cadence he always used when he thought I was being difficult. "This is the last time I'm explaining this, Autumn. Whatever Tessa and I had in the past, we're just friends now. The engagement party is ruined, fine. I'll throw you another one. Just stop being so unreasonable, okay?" Unreasonable. So being abandoned by my fiancé, being stared at with a mixture of pity and morbid curiosity, and forcing a smile while enduring thinly veiled insults. None of that warranted an apology. But refusing to apologize to his first love? That was being unreasonable. A tidal wave of emotion churned in my chest, 1,000 unspoken words threatening to tear my heart apart. But when they reached my lips, all that escaped was a hollow "okay." There was no point in comparing myself to Tessa. I should have known that long ago. This year marked the 12th anniversary of the day I met Leo. The ending of our story was written in its beginning. He had switched his major from science to liberal arts just to be in the same program as Tessa, and in doing so, he became my desk mate. But even sitting beside me, his adoring gaze was a luxury he never once granted me. It was always reserved for the most radiant girl in the class. Our classmates whispered that Leo, with his proud and untamable nature, was just playing with Tessa's heart. I knew better. I saw him ask me to borrow Tessa's award-winning essays, which he would then painstakingly photocopy and bind like sacred texts, studying them for hours. I saw him get into fights for her, earning public reprimands on the assembly stage without a hint of shame. When she offhandedly mentioned she liked guys with good grades, he quit every extracurricular activity and threw himself into his studies with a ferocity that was terrifying, all for the chance to attend the same university as her. Leo Vance always charged headfirst into battle for the girl he loved. Even at the end, when a debilitating illness had left him a shadow of his former self, he had dragged his broken body to the airport when he learned Tessa was leaving him for a future overseas. Not to beg her to stay, but to tell her he didn't hate her, to wish her happiness. I had seen what Leo looked like when he was in love, and I yearned for that love. So I positioned myself where he could always find me just by turning around. I foolishly believed that years of unwavering companionship and support could eventually wash away the past, that I could earn a small, quiet corner of his heart. I was wrong. Even after all this time, even when he was on one knee proposing to me, even in a hall filled with the people who were supposed to celebrate us, if Tessa needed him, he would still drop everything and run to her side without a second thought. With that, the beautiful, fragile illusion I had woven for myself finally shattered. I was so tired. The next morning, I was summoned back to the Vance family villa. It was filled with relatives who had attended the party, their faces a gallery of judgment. I used to tremble before them, terrified of saying or doing the wrong thing and embarrassing Leo. Today I felt nothing but a profound calm. Leo's aunt Carol spoke first, her face a mask of displeasure. "Autumn, what on earth happened last night? Are you and Leo fighting? You need to resolve these things quickly. Know when to back down. You're not a child anymore." It was so humiliating. Her words sounded like a criticism of them both, but the condescending lift of her lips and the scrutinizing gaze were aimed squarely at me. I'd always known the Vances didn't accept me. In their eyes, I had only gotten my chance because I'd been there to care for Leo during his illness, a lucky opportunist who had slipped in when the real contender was gone. Leo had always dismissed their attitude. "You're marrying me, not them," he'd say. "Just endure it for a little while." Now it was I who no longer wished to endure it. I offered a placid smile. Tessa needed him. The front door slammed open, waking me from a light doze in the guest room. Leo was back. He still wore his bespoke white suit, looking impossibly handsome despite the weariness etched on his face. A faint red handprint on his cheek was the only blemish. He stood alone in the grand foyer, facing down a firing squad of his elders. His voice was raw but firm. "We broke up because I didn't want to hold her back. Not because she abandoned me. She is a good person. I have told you all repeatedly not to judge her. If you can't manage that simple courtesy, then there is nothing more for us to discuss." He spun on his heel and stormed out. I chased after him, and he finally seemed to notice my presence. The anger hadn't left his eyes. Before I could speak, a torrent of accusations rained down on me. "You told them about Tessa, didn't you? Autumn, how long are you going to drag this out? You've been different ever since she came back. What's the point? What do you want? For my entire family to hate her? What good does that do you?" It was the most unhinged I had ever seen him. My mouth opened but no words came. I just looked at him, my gaze tracing the lines of his handsome, furious face. I looked for a long time, until his features blurred and a cold tear slid down my cheek. After all these years, I was once again witnessing Leo, the brave soldier, charging into battle. And once again, the person he was protecting was not me. Seeing my tears, he froze. The fire in his eyes slowly died down, replaced by an emotion I couldn't decipher. He reached out, his hand landing heavily on my shoulder. "I am still going to marry you," he vowed, as if it were a consolation. I could hear the strong, steady beat of his heart, followed by a deep sigh. So close yet a universe away. I squeezed my eyes shut. "But I don't want to anymore." I refused Leo's suggestion that I go with him to the hospital to visit Tessa. Surprisingly, he didn't insist this time, nor did he mention the apology again. He just muttered something about Tessa having no one else to look after her and rushed off. I was already used to it. By the time I reached the office, I was late. My boss, Isabel, called me into her office and held up her phone, showing me the message I'd sent last night. "Are you serious about resigning?" I nodded. "So, the plan is to marry the boss and settle into the life of a pampered wife?" she asked, her brow furrowed with disapproval. "I know the rumors going around this office are nasty, but your work speaks for itself, Autumn. It's a shame to throw it all away. Think this through." I had gotten this job on my own merit, climbing my way up from an entry-level position. But after Leo proposed, he decided I was too tired and needed to prepare for pregnancy. When I refused to quit, he used his authority to systematically reduce my workload. It looked like he was being caring, but his actions fueled the vicious office gossip. For months I was ostracized and undermined. My past achievements were questioned, my promotions attributed not to my hard work, but to my powerful boyfriend. "I'm not marrying him," I said. The words, once spoken, felt surprisingly peaceful. "I'm resigning because I don't want my abilities to be misjudged anymore. I need a change of environment." Isabel stared at me, then her sharp gaze softened. A slow, satisfied smile spread across her face. "All right. Approved." She pulled a file from her drawer. "If you haven't figured out your next move, I've got something for you." A few days later, I was meeting with the director of a large corporation from another city. They were so impressed that they offered to pay my breach of contract fee and have me start at the beginning of next month. Leo didn't want me to work, so he had felt entitled to destroy what I had painstakingly built. I used to think it was because he cared. I tried to accept it, to mold myself into the kind of wife who managed his health and his home. Now I saw none of it was worth it. Thankfully, I still had the chance to choose again. The handover work before my departure was hectic. After a long meeting, I saw I had a missed call from Leo. It occurred to me then that he hadn't been to the office in days. He was likely playing the part of a devoted nurse to Tessa. I called him back. "Why didn't you answer?" he asked, his tone imperious. "You're off work, right? We have a lot of stuff here. Come to the hospital and pick us up." I almost laughed. What did he think I was? His driver? His maid? Perhaps I was less than that. After all, he'd ordered me around for years without ever paying me a salary. No, I said coolly. I'm working overtime. What overtime? Whatever it is can wait until tomorrow. Tessa's been discharged. I'm busy, I said and hung up, not caring if he was angry or annoyed. When I finally got home at 11, he was waiting, his face a cold mask. Where have you been? I ignored him and walked into the living room, only to find it cluttered with unfamiliar luggage. What is all this? It's Tessa's, he said, stepping in front of me, his expression darkening. What overtime were you working? Were you out with someone? The accusation was so absurd I laughed out loud. Leo, I said, looking him straight in the eye. Just because you have a guilty conscience doesn't mean you should see ghosts everywhere you look. Autumn, what is that supposed to mean? He demanded, his voice low and dangerous. I brought Tessa here because she's not well. The doctor said she needs to be looked after for a while. So that was his justification for bringing another woman into our home. Before I could retort, the guest room door opened. A vision of fragile beauty emerged. It was Tessa. Autumn, I'm so sorry, she whispered, her lower lip trembling. I heard you too. If you don't want me here, I can leave tomorrow? It's just so late now. Leo's face grew even stormier. You're staying right here, he declared, not looking at me. I bought this house. My word is final. That's right. My wishes had never been part of his equation. The home he had promised me during his proposal was now just the house he bought. It was a good thing. It made it easier to leave without regret. If Leo says you can stay, you might as well stay for a lifetime, I said flatly, then turned and walked into the now empty second guest room. Through the closed door I could hear his angry rebukes and Tessa's soft, placating murmurs. None of it had anything to do with me anymore. The next morning I saw Leo in the kitchen making breakfast. He wore an apron, and in the soft morning light, he looked impossibly gentle. A warm buttery aroma filled the house. I froze. I had almost forgotten that Leo could cook. Tessa had been a picky eater in college. Leo had taught himself to cook for her, and on the rare occasion she didn't like a dish, he would pass the leftovers to me. After we got together, I once asked him nostalgically to cook for me. He always had excuses. Too busy with work, the housekeeper could do it, he'd forgotten how. Yes, work was busy, but he hadn't forgotten how to make Tessa's favorite breakfast. I was tired. I washed up quietly and left the house. By the time I got to work, the office was buzzing. The boss had finally reappeared after a week's absence, with a stunningly beautiful woman in tow. My rivals, who had always resented me, couldn't resist their digs. A man like him either marries for status or for beauty. Some people are just so plain. It's hilarious they ever thought they could climb that high. You should see how he treats her. Gave her a personal tour, had a new sofa and rug brought in just for her in the reception lounge, even postponed a board meeting. The scalding coffee I was pouring overflowed, dripping onto my fingers. Shortly after I returned to my desk, Tessa appeared, trailed by the curious and gloating eyes of my colleagues. I'm so sorry, Autumn, she began, her voice dripping with false sincerity. I understand why you'd resent me, but I truly never meant to ruin your engagement. Party. After my divorce, I had nowhere to go. Leo insisted I come here. I think he's just taking extra care of me because I don't have any family in the city. She paused, then her eyes twinkled with mischief. But don't be angry anymore. Just now, Leo gave me the design contract for your new engagement party. I'm going to make it perfect for you. A champagne tower, pistachio cake, and the most beautiful white roses in the world. These are all my favorite things. Do you like them too? It all clicked into place. Why Leo had insisted on white roses instead of the red ones I loved. Why he had been so adamant about an extravagant champagne tower. Why, for my birthday every year, he ordered a pistachio-flavored cake, no matter how many times I told him I hated it. I had always told myself he was just careless. I had fantasized that if I just waited long enough, I would one day get my red roses. Now I saw it. Love and its absence were, in fact, painfully obvious. This woman, who called him Leo with such cloying intimacy, had never once left his heart. It was time for me to wake up. Do whatever you want, I said. The days that followed were a blur of work for me. For Leo, they were a schedule of clocking out on time to take Tessa home. We worked in the same building and slept in the same house, yet we barely saw each other. Leo knew I was resigning. He assumed it was to prepare for our marriage, so he didn't ask questions. I didn't bother to correct him. I'd see his texts pop up. Remember to eat, make sure you rest, and feel a sense of absurdity. The old me would have been thrilled. Now, I knew they were just careless afterthoughts, sent in the spare moments between taking Tessa to restaurants and attractions all over the city, as documented daily on her saccharine social media. The welcome party for Tessa was on a Friday night. By the time I arrived after work, the private room was full. The seat to Leo's right was taken by Tessa. The person on his left started to get up for me, but I waved him down and took an empty chair at the far end of the table. Leo's dark eyes followed my every move, his brow furrowed with that familiar, inscrutable emotion. He probably thought I was being unreasonable again. I ignored him. Later, when everyone was drunk, old college friends started reminiscing. If it weren't for the accident, you two would have been married by now, one of them slurred, gesturing between Leo and Tessa. The golden couple. It was my fault, Tessa said, her eyes red-rimmed and glassy fixed on Leo. I was so young and selfish. The chance to go abroad. I couldn't give it up. Only after all these years did I realize who was truly the best to me. She lifted her glass, but a hand stopped her. It's all in the past, Leo said, his voice husky. He took her glass and drained it himself. I told you I would always respect your choice. You'll find someone better. His gaze drifted across the table and landed on me. And I have my own life now. We'll all be happy. In the car on the way home, I broke the silence. You shouldn't drink with your condition. The medicine is in the third drawer of the TV stand. The purple bottle. You can get it for me, he murmured, a low chuckle in his throat. He started to lean his head on my shoulder, but I shifted away. You need to learn to take care of yourself, I said quietly. After his accident, when he was wrapped in plaster and bandages, unable to care for himself, Tessa had chosen her bright future over a broken boyfriend. He had fallen into a deep depression. Stayed by his side day and night. I wish it was you I fell in love with, he had told me once. At the time I had thought, with all the confidence of youth, how do you know you won't someday? Now I no longer dared to believe him. My voice softened. After all, I'll believe. It's okay, Leo. Tessa chirped from the front passenger seat, turning around suddenly. Autumn is probably just tired from work. I'll take care of you when we get home. It's my fault you drank so much anyway. Leo straightened up, pinching the bridge of his nose. With a stomach as weak as yours, you're the one who needs taking care of, he grumbled, but there was affection in his voice. They fell into an easy, nostalgic banter. A world so complete that no one else could enter. I never finished my sentence. I just turned my head and looked out the window at the deepening night. When Leo called about the final dress fitting, I was in another city signing a lease. No one told me about it. I have things to do, I can't make it. You're not in the city? What could be so important? I could picture his frown. Just use the measurements from last time. You can pick the style. I trust your taste. As I signed my name on the contract, his breathing grew heavier on the other end. How can we have a fitting if you're not here? You weren't there last time either, I reminded him. I had waited all day for him at the bridal shop, only for him to never show. I ended up having to bring the tailor to his office. He had just finished a tense meeting and coldly berated me for being unprofessional and mixing my personal life with his work. I had cried all the way home. The memory clearly struck him too. His voice softened. Okay, we'll try the finished dress tomorrow then. I'm busy. Just have Tessa do it. I hung up. When Leo called again days later to say he had arranged a dinner with our parents, I had no choice but to fly back. He picked me up from the airport. Surprisingly, Tessa wasn't in the passenger seat. But when I opened the door, a pair of fluffy slippers and a blanket that weren't mine sat on the seat. I closed the door and got in the back. Leo's face hardened. He was silent for half the drive before finally speaking. Autumn, we need to talk. Are you still upset about the other night? Shouldn't I be? I countered. He didn't answer, just repeated his mantra. I am going to marry you. You'll marry me, I scoffed. Leo, put everything else aside. Put Tessa aside, put everything I've done for you aside. And ask your own heart. Do you want to marry me? Do you? I do, he answered immediately. Autumn Hayes, I want to marry you. I want a future with you. I admit Tessa's return has complicated things, but it doesn't change my promise. But it changes me, I said softly. My heart hurts too. I want to be your priority too. You can't give me that, Leo. So don't make promises you can't keep. In the rearview mirror, his expression was a storm cloud of frustration and... was that a flicker of panic? We'll talk later, Autumn, he muttered, as much to himself as to me. We'll talk later. At dinner, my parents were visibly tense. Leo's parents, however, launched into a lengthy theatrical criticism of their son, praising me and telling him to cherish me. It was a performance designed to smooth things over, and it worked. My parents relaxed. I missed my chance to end it. Then during the main course, Leo's phone rang. It was an unknown number. He ignored it twice. The third time he answered. The background was loud, and the caller's voice was frantic. Is this a friend of Tessa's? She's drunk at our bar, you need to come get her. Underneath, I could hear a familiar voice crying. Don't come, Leo. I can get home myself. Don't come. The sound echoed through the silent private dining room. Leo shot to his feet, covering the receiver. I'm so sorry, he said to the table at large. Something's come up. I'll be right back. He didn't even look at me. You will not leave this table, his mother commanded, slamming her hand down. I just need to check on her, he insisted. The call came to my phone. I'm worried. And just like that, he was gone. My parents sat in stony, humiliated silence. I knew they were holding back for my sake. But I was done. I helped them to their feet. Aunt, uncle, I said to Leo's parents, let's just go ahead with the party as planned. Mom, Dad, let's go home. On the drive back, I told them to inform our relatives not to attend the engagement party, even if they received an invitation. What are you doing, Autumn? Don't act on impulse, my mother pleaded. I'm not. There was no anger left in me. Without expectation, there can be no disappointment. I'm going home to pack tonight. In a couple of days, I'm moving to another city for work. What about the engagement party? Does Leo know? He doesn't need to, I said with a small, sad smile. He doesn't care anyway. Mom, I interrupted her gentle protests, correcting one small, crucial error. I don't love him anymore. When Leo finally called me, full of apologies, I cut him off. It's okay, Leo. Let's just leave it at this. I packed the last of my clothes. Let's just end it. Before I left, I met with Tessa. Do you love him? I asked her directly. The smile on her face froze, then melted away. What are you talking about? Is it fun sabotaging my engagement? Living in our home? Riding in my seat in his car? Do you know what they call a woman who acts like that? I stepped closer. A homewrecker. You're the homewrecker, she hissed, her mask finally dropping. Everyone knows he loves me. If it weren't for you clinging to him for all these years, he would have waited for me. Why do you get to have it all? The big house, the fancy car, the man who should be mine. I'll tell you why, I said, my voice flat. Because once I loved him more than you did. I held up a hand. I said once. I don't love him anymore. So the mansion, the cars, the life you envy, you can have it all. You can have him. I smiled. You tried on my wedding dress, didn't you? You might as well be the one to go to the party, too. In the final days, Leo began to call me incessantly. At first, his voice was gentle, coaxing. The white roses were changed to red. The pistachio cake was replaced with my favorite hazelnut. The venue was moved from a sterile hotel rooftop to the beautiful lawn I'd always dreamed of. He even wrote a speech full of memories of us. You see, when he wanted to, he could do everything perfectly, which only made his past neglect all the more tragic. I didn't respond to any of it. My silence finally broke him. Autumn, stop this, he snarled over the phone. Stop being so childish. On the day of the engagement party, I walked out of the Vance Corporation building for the last time, my official letter of resignation in my hand. I didn't look back. At the boarding gate, my phone rang. It was him. Autumn, meet me. Just once. His voice was eerily calm. I'm leaving, Leo. I looked up at the departures board. In 20 minutes, I'll be gone from this city. Then when you get back. We'll talk when you get back, okay? I'm not coming back. There was a long pause. You will, he said, his voice raw and stubborn. You'll come back. We'll talk then. Leo, I took a deep breath. There's no point. We had so many chances to talk, and it was never enough. Why are you clinging to this one last time? Who says it's not enough? His voice finally cracked. Autumn, Gunyanchio. Just give me a little more time. I'll fix everything. I'll come find you. I already gave you a very long time, I said softly. 12 years. I waited for you for 12 years. I'm tired now. You ran once. Now I'm running once. That makes us even. Let's just forget each other from now on. No. His voice was a panicked, choked sound. You still love me, you know you do you. I don't. I looked out the panoramic window as a plane lifted off the runway, shrinking into the vast sky until it was gone. Leo, I said. When I chose to leave, I stopped loving you. So please let's say goodbye. Leo's epilogue. The moment she hung up, I knew it was over. A sharp ringing filled my ears. I looked around dazed. Flowers, champagne, and Tessa, beautiful and radiant in her gown, her red lips moving, her face a mask of concern. She was saying something, but I couldn't hear a word. The next thing I knew, I was staring at a stark white ceiling. The sterile scent of disinfectant filled my nostrils, dragging up painful memories I had long since buried. My junior year of college after the car accident. They told me I might never walk again. Then my girlfriend left. My parents, assured I wasn't in mortal danger, hired a nurse and went back to their busy lives. I was alone, lying in a bed just like this one. I had thought about dying. And then one day, Autumn Hayes appeared. She walked softly to my bedside and gently touched the skin just beyond the gauze on my hand. I was too weak to speak. I just blinked and tears began to stream down her face. I always knew she liked me. Back in high school, when she sat next to me, her eyes would go wide like a startled fawn whenever I spoke to her, her cheeks flushing a deep red. She was just like me in a way. Her love was in her actions. The meticulously neat notebooks she'd share. The snacks that would magically appear on my desk. My head told me to keep my distance. But a selfish, cruel part of me whispered, if she never says it, I can pretend I don't know. For years she followed me. A discreet, patient crush that bloomed into 3 months of round-the-clock care in a hospital, and then a job at my company. After 10 years, I knew I couldn't pretend anymore. So I proposed. My parents warned me not to confuse gratitude with love. But it didn't matter. Whatever my feelings for Autumn were, I had grown accustomed to her presence. I wanted her by my side. Forever. But then Tessa came back. Broken, fragile, and still so beautiful. I had loved her so deeply once. I wanted to make her okay again, as if by fixing her, I could reclaim some part of my own lost youth. But what about Autumn? The thought of leaving her was a physical pain, a possibility I refused to entertain. I couldn't lose her. I didn't want her to go. So I just kept repeating like a broken record. I am going to marry you. I thought I could have both. I thought I could find the perfect solution. I thought I had time. Because Tessa, like everyone else, might leave. But Autumn never would. But she did. She said she didn't love me anymore. You're finally awake. A tear-streaked face came into focus. Then more faces. Parents, friends, colleagues. They surrounded my bed. Their arms full of flowers and fruit. Until the room was overflowing with people. The doctor said it was nothing serious. Exhaustion and stress. Compared to the car accident, this was a vacation. Are you waiting for someone? My secretary asked, noticing my gaze constantly darting towards the door. I just shook my head. Someone once appeared when I was at my most helpless and alone, and saved me. Now that my world was full of people, she was the one who had disappeared completely. Sir? Are you feeling all right? My secretary asked, his voice sharp with alarm as he rushed forward with a tissue. I only then realized I was crying. I think I love Autumn Hayes.